is leading this conference. And oh God, we pray that the blessings that flow out of this would flow into homes, would flow into families, that it would flow into workplaces, in every area where the men and fathers are called to step up and to lead their families with diligence and with wisdom and with righteousness. And God, we pray that in everything that is done here, that you would get the glory out of these men that you have brought together. And God, that they would lead, that they would be able to instruct, and God, that they would be an example for those who are coming after them. This we ask and pray in the mighty name of Jesus Christ.
Si podemos, si podemos inclinar nuestros rostros. Dios, te damos gracias por este día y lo recordamos que en Isaías capítulo 64, versículo 8 dice que tú eres nuestro Señor, que tú eres nuestro Padre. Nosotros somos el barro y tú eres el alfarero. Estamos aquí para aprender de ti y de todos que van a presentar en esta conferencia. Bendiga ese día con tu presencia, con tu sabiduría y que tú estés aquí en el medio de todo lo que estamos haciendo. Porque sin ti no tenemos nada y queremos aprender de ti y de todo entre nuestros hermanos en este día. En el nombre de Jesús oramos y todos dicen amén.
It is good to let you gather together when he is in that place. It's time now to hear from our esteemed State Senator Joseph Ryan.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. By the way, what a great honor it is to be with Bill Dawson, isn't it? All right. If you ever, I don't want to say if you have a certain age, but if you had the opportunity to listen to when it was just on AM radio, 660, Bill Dawson took you through a lot of ups and downs in the sports world and in life. Bill, it's a real honor to be with you today. Thank you so much for being here. I just want to take a moment. I do want to introduce my colleagues that are here with me. I hope you don't mind. Take a moment. They're very happy these days, and I am too. So it's my honor to mention and introduce two of my running mates that are here, Assemblywoman Kiana and Assemblyman Reginald Atkins. And you all just had a chance to meet Carlos, who's Councilman Elizabeth, and I want to give him a shout out. I know you're going to hear from him a little later. One of the greatest men I've met in public life, Frank Buxton. So I want to thank Rod and all the folks that organized the Fatherhood Initiative. Just take a moment and realize that the challenge we have is so unique. Right? I completely admit I've told this story. I'm a father once at 20 and twice at 21. Right? And when you're young and you're a father, your life changes. Right? One of the challenges we all have is that we don't parent these days the same way that our parents did. Are you the father your father was? The same techniques? Probably not. All right? And those are things you can think of during the day. What do you carry? What do you let go? What do you adjust for? And how do you do it? There's so much among us today that makes life so much different, right? We all know that the challenges with young people today are different, right? This thing has changed a lot of what people do and what they are, how we communicate. But we all know that healthy families have a couple things in common. Not all physical, I hope, all right? But it's very much about whether they communicate. Whether your 5-year-old, if your 5-year-old's dream is to make it to a soccer game in the morning, then that's the dream. Those dreams change when she's 17 or 18 or 21. Right? We all know that young men and the challenges we have in raising young men, how difficult it can be as times change. And of course, and anyone who's got the title of father knows there's children, and then there's those awful things called teenagers that make us all question what we are and what we do. And ultimately, those things change. I say it with a little bit of sarcasm, because we all know that the experience we have, while it changes us, the impact we have as parents, as fathers, is significant and inclusive and long-lasting throughout our children's lives. How we handle ourselves. Do we communicate? Are we kind? Do we emphasize discussion? And do we know where our children want to go? Are we part of that? There are very unique challenges today. Dinner at 6 isn't the way it is. For those of you of a certain age, you remember when the street lights went out, you better be home. Right? How many of us really say that anymore? It's just a different world. The flexibility and the challenges the flexibility we need to have, and the challenges that go with it, are why I'm so inspired and part of a little bit of this conference today. God, your team, everyone who brings us together realizes the adjustments we have to make because of the challenges we face. I hope today we have those discussions. I hope today we learn from them. And I thank you all for taking a few moments on a beautiful Saturday morning in June to join us. And congratulations to you all. Have a great conference.
Thank you, Senator Klein. As I grow older, I still live by one of those mantras. When street lights come on, I'm in my house. I threw a little curve at our wonderful production staff. We are now going to see a video. Healthy fathers, healthy families, sizzle.
Years ago, roughly, Union County Fatherhood came together because Tim Nesbitt Good from Nesbitt Funeral Home had a vision or a need to see fathers being empowered in Union County and to be recognized. So she gathered together 23 of us, mostly men, several women, and reached out and said, we need to get together and do a program, an event that can empower and recognize the importance of fathers and fatherhood in Union County. And so with that first event, we recognized over 40 fathers. We had Earl Monroe come and speak, and then we had a celebration in the park after that. Following that, we got reunited together and decided we need to do more than once a year celebration. So what we did was to move forward a collaborative effort to bring fathers and men together to begin doing workshops, training, events, and recognitions of the importance of fathers and fatherhood engagement. That's how several other men became a part of the committee and team. The motivation was that we saw the need and importance of fathers being recognized for their engagement in the community and families. And what we would say, the ordinary father, the father that's day-to-day, the man that's out there doing day-to-day, taking care of his or her.
Thank the Union County Fatherhood Initiative Coalition for the incredible work that you do.
So we thought it was critically important that we continue to do that, but also we thought it was critically important that we share information that would help fathers to become better fathers. So we partnership with Trinidad Regional Hospital to do a fatherhood brochure, Healthy Fathers, Healthy Families. And then we took that along with them as a team to go to different communities and actually do workshops centered around the brochure. We talk about wellness for fathers, cancer wellness, health, reading, food, eating, and behavioral health. And so that was one of the keys. And then we continued to move forward looking at the importance and needs of fathers getting information, whether it's child care, child support, wellness information, mental health needs for fathers, long-term financial planning. And so over the years and times, we've been able to do that. Greetings, Fatherhood family. This is Rod Spearman, Chairman of the Union County Fatherhood Initiative Coalition, coming to you today on behalf of our Executive Board members and staff. We are honored and thankful that you chose to join us for our 2020 virtual conference, the Fatherhood Survival Toolkit. Your willingness to join us helped make our virtual conference a tremendous success.
Saying is that this is your life. So the story I want to share that goes into the pizza night, first of all, I called the book Fatherhood is Leadership because to me, leadership, just like fatherhood, is not about your title. I know I worked with a lot of companies, they call them a leader. The CEO, they say he's a leader, and he wasn't really a leader. I lead that same company, the person cleaning the bathrooms would have 5-10 people around him holding court. To me, that's leadership. Leadership is not about your title. Leadership is about influence. Does your words match your actions? Does your audio match your video? So whenever I work with fathers all across the world, we're looking at how do we align our words and our actions? Not that we're going to be perfect, but does your audio match your video?
It's a natural thing, but for some reason there's a deficit in some communities. But you know, we were both very fortunate to have very, you know, incredible fathers that put us in the positions that we're in today because of their mentoring and the upbringing they gave us. And so, you know, fatherhood is instrumental in a person's life to be successful. So I just think it's imperative that, you know, we do the things that we saw our fathers do.
But I think it's important to get creative, and that's what this conference is all about, is getting fathers and sons to be creative and understand how they can play, work, and do things together. And I thank Rod Spearman and the team for putting this great seminar together, and I hope it's an enjoyable morning. Thank you.
Healthy families and healthy relationships, and don't be afraid to show it. Because one of the things we always need to be, we need to be an example. We need to be an example of what Black love, Black family, and a healthy Black family looks like. And as I stated earlier, we shouldn't have to wait 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 generations to get there.
It is time now to find out about our conference overview, what's going to happen here with all of us today. And here to bring that information to you is my good friend, Reverend Ron.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, well, we try to give you a little bit of our history in that video. It's tied in with what we're doing today. And so I'll be brief. It's important to us to continue the theme of healthy fathers, building healthy families, and strong communities. So what we have for you today, you'll see in your program guide is laid out here for you. So I won't spend a lot of time about it. But I do want to say that what we're emphasizing for this conference is related to 4 of the areas of wellness. There are 8 altogether, but we started with the invocation, and that's really to get our spiritual wellness, to give our mind and our body and our soul an opportunity to connect in this occasion. So that sets the tone. What we'll break out here shortly is into 2 parallel sessions. One will be held here in the atrium for the English language portion, and then a Spanish language section will be held in the auditorium upstairs as the registration is. So the tracks include physical wellness, emotional wellness, and financial wellness. And these are topics that we feel are the core for wellness. There are others, but we come back to these because we're looking to enrich your lives. We're looking for you to have an opportunity to engage with the speakers, engage in your own thought process, and then engage with one another. So so this is in keeping with our theme, and these are the 4 areas that I spoke of: spiritual, physical, emotional. So each one of them has a goal, and I think you need to think about it from that perspective for your own life, because as one of our speakers will say, it all begins from within, and that's what we're here for today. Is to help work within for each of you. So our English and Spanish breakout sessions look like this. Lee Evans will be giving a keynote from his perspective, from his organization about mental health and fatherhood. Okay.
It'll come back.
In your books, in the English language breakout, we will have our speakers from our speakers from Trinity Hospital, Dr. Crapo, Dr. Epps, and Dr. Light will be speaking on physical and mental health. These sessions will be a warm-up for you, because we'll have a follow-on roundtable discussion. We'll talk about financial wellness. Jason Murray will bring that to us, unleashing financial wellness. On the Spanish side, Frank Cuesta will be the keynote speaker and lead the discussion there. And then the rest of the sections will follow similar to the English ones in terms of mental, physical, and emotional health. We have a panel of speakers. Mrs. Doris Reno, a registered nurse, will be talking about fitness and physical health. Have a discussion by Dr. Emmanuel Mercedes on the importance of fatherhood and mental health. And Carlos Peralta will be speaking on the topic of financial wellness. And then as part of that panel, we will have Evelyn Hurtado who will be speaking on immigration. So we've put together this really to try to stimulate your thinking, to provide some new insights, and we will reconvene after those sessions back here. So we stay here, Spanish group will go upstairs to the auditorium, and we'll reconvene after those sessions back here. We'll have a brunch set up, some more music, and we'll go into our roundtable, because that's really the culmination of this conference. It's something new for us. We've always had subject matter experts coming in to speak, but we really wanted to make this different, give you an opportunity to talk among yourselves. We have a program we call Dad Talk, and it's just about men, probably fathers, sharing their stories, sharing their challenges, sharing their successes. So we think we put it together in a way that will be meaningful, and we're looking forward to everyone coming back together in the round table. And as was laid out in the beginning, that we want you to all have a takeaway. And so what you will have, there'll be some questions that in the round table that we led by Audrey to help us get talking. That's the key. Men have a tendency not to talk about things that are most important. So we're praying that this will be an opportunity for that to happen. So just open up your hearts, open up your minds, and we believe that you will be blessed by this conference. So with that, we want to move on to our breakouts. And so I'll turn it back over to Bill, and he will give us directions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Our Spanish-speaking padres, I guess, begin the migration up to the theater for the Spanish-speaking portion of the program, and the rest of us will stay right here in the atrium. There's a lot of seasoning in the room. I see that in the beards and the hair, but there's some young folks up in here too, and I think we will all learn something today. If not from our keynote speakers, we will learn something from each other about this thing called fatherhood. I'm a father of 4, I have 5 grandchildren, 7 if you count the 2 others by marriage, and I'm still here on. So hopefully those needs will be met today. It's time now for our keynote speaker, Nathan Evans Jr. He's a devoted husband and father. He's an international resilience speaker, mental health advocate, and the founder and CEO of the Nathan Evans Jr. Group LLC. And he's also the co-founder of Me Being Me is Dope. Nate resides down in Mays Landings, New Jersey. He also supports his local community as a youth mentor for several schools in Atlantic County, New Jersey. Bottom line is, Nate is on a mission to eradicate the stigmas around mental health, something we are hearing more and more about in our society today. Please welcome Nathan Evans Jr.
Good morning, good morning. How's everybody feeling this morning?
Man, first and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to Ron and Rod for setting up this opportunity, for bringing me in. I had an extremely eventful night last night. I was actually at a wedding with my wife down in Baltimore. I woke up around 4 a.m. this morning to get here. Um, and the reason I did that was because whenever we talk about men getting together, whenever we talk about men gathering, fathers of color, when we come together to talk about anything outside of sports and drinking, and we're looking to really build each other, I know that I need to be in the room. So for me, it was super important to be here. And actually, what I want to do is, can you put that image up of my family real quick? Perfect, perfect. So this is actually my wife and my son. And I just wanted to show this image because we look good. You know what I'm saying? We look good. But no, seriously, this is my world right here. My son is 5 months. Me and my wife been at it for about 13 years going on now. I think 13, don't tell her, I don't remember, but around 13 or so. But I love to talk about them and show them when I go different places all around the country because they allow me to be in my purpose and do the work that I do. Like I literally left them around 4:30 this morning, kissed them both, and left out the door. And they allow me to travel, to speak, to stay at places. So I never want to take that for granted, right? I never want to act like they're supposed to do these things. I'm blessed to do what I do, and I'm blessed to be here with all of you. So while I have you for a brief moment this morning, thank you. I appreciate that. They look good. You can sit there. That's fine. So while I have you for this brief moment this morning, I first want to affirm you all, right? And I want to say how proud I am of you as men for showing up. The reality is, I'm gonna be honest, it should be like triple the amount of men in this room that really need to be here to get the information, to build the relationships, to learn, to grow, to open up. But as you can see, it's not. But the people who are in the room right now are supposed to be in the room. That's the reality, right? But we know some other brothers that you can be like, man, he definitely need to be here like today. So I want to honor you all because you made the sacrifice. You came out. You decided, like, okay, I want to elevate as a father. Maybe you're not even a father yet, but I want to elevate and learn so when I become a father, I can be the best that I can be. Right? So I think it's super important that I affirm you. I say I love you. I see you because it's challenging, y'all. And I'm a new father. Right now, I've mentored a bunch of young men that see me as a father figure, but to have my own, it's completely different. Right? In my head, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna raise him this way, I'm gonna do these things. And then he gets here and I'm like, oh snap. Like this is real. Right? I battled with for a little while actually, for about 2 months with postnatal depression. And I didn't know what it was. I thought it was something wrong with me. Right? I'm like, man, hold on, I love my son. I love my family. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like I have no energy? Why do I feel like I don't want to be around them? Right? Because the change was so sudden. And I had to realize that change is also, this kind of change is a crisis, but a positive crisis. And it was just different for me, and I had to show myself grace. As men, as fathers, how often do we show ourselves grace for making mistakes? Because we want to be perfect. We want to have everything right. I had to learn to show myself grace because I was literally beating myself up every single day. And while I'm beating myself up, I'm now trying to raise my son from a person who has been beat down and abused by himself. So I had to learn these things. I had to learn grace. I had to go to therapy. I had to talk to my therapist. Like, look, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, it's completely normal, right? Because in my head, I was only seeing myself in the way that society sees us as what? Provider, and what else? Protector. Y'all know it. You ain't have to look that up, did you? Provider, protector. That's all we're seen as in the eyes of society. Without those two titles, what do we do? And I love what Jason Wilson says. He's the author of a book called Cry Like a Man, one of my favorite people. He runs this academy out in Detroit called the Cave of the Devil, which is this transformational academy for young males of color. And it helps them evolve, grow spiritually, learn how to handle life as adversity comes. And he says, he challenges us, he says that we need to be comprehensive men, meaning we're everything we need to be at any given moment. I'm not just a provider. I'm not just a protector. I'm also a carer. I'm also a nurturer. I'm also a lover. I'm also here to be empathetic with you. I'm all of these things, right? I'm all a 360 man. I'm all of these things. But when you only show up as provider and protector, what do when your child, when your son, when your daughter needs someone who's empathetic and you can't provide that? And I've seen that growing up. I remember staying at my grandfather's house, living with him, seeing my dad and how he operated with his father. He only knew provider and protector. So when it came to the other things, he missed a lot. And we all have an opportunity in this room to go beyond breadwinners, beyond protectors. Because again, we need to be more. My son is going to need more than me just being able to provide financially for him. What happens when I'm gone? What lessons have you learned? What have you gathered? What have you picked up? Do I just have this trust of money for you, but I've given you no values? I haven't shown you how to operate with women. I haven't shown you how I love your mother. I haven't shown you these things. I haven't shown you how to walk with integrity. What do we just focus on? Because I hear men all the time, I'm just trying to chase and get the bag. That's all it is. I'm trying to get this money. I need to get more. They're going to love me if I do more, if I get more. And we end up burning ourselves out. That's why there are so many men, 50 and over, that are beat down. Bodies deteriorating. Think about it. When you see an older couple, a woman and a man, who looks more beat up? A man, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? Because we work ourselves into the ground trying to be the breadwinner. And I get it. We have to provide. We have to protect. But there's so much more. There's such a greater call for us, y'all. There's so much more that I want you to grasp and I want you to see. And I don't talk from this place where I'm like pontificating or nothing. I had to learn, and I'm still learning. Like I'm a very fresh, new father, and I'm always open to learning. So I'm gonna be a sponge today. But I had to learn two things. I had to, first, I had to do the work to heal, right? To heal the inner child within me. I had to do that work. That was the very first thing that I had to do. And then I also had to show myself grace throughout this process. Because fatherhood is what I'm learning is a process. There's no perfect way to do it. There's no right book. I'm telling you how to do it the exact same way that I did. So it's going to work for you. It's a process. And every day I have to wake up and realize every day won't be the same. These children are people just like us. They aren't our little servants, our little maids. They're people. You remember what it was like to be in that position. When you were parented by your father or your mother or your auntie or big mama, whoever it was, you remember what it was like to be a child. Some memories you don't want to remember, right? So for me personally, in order for me to be the man that I know I'm called to be for my son, right, I had to heal and again show myself grace. And then for me personally, as a believer in Jesus, I had to lean on Christ like heavy every single day. Like one of my prayers, I take a morning walk every morning around probably like 5 a.m. We got 2 dogs, small dogs, right? And I like to take them for a walk. I do this thing where I walk and pray, walk and talk. And for me, one of my prayers every single morning is God provide me with the wisdom to raise this boy into a king. Because I don't know. As much as I think I know, as much knowledge as I have, as much experiences as I have, he's his own person. And I need wisdom on how to raise him, right? Without hurting him, without scarring him. And I'm going to make mistakes. That's the reality. I know I won't be perfect, but if my motives are pure, that's what matters to me. So again, the work to heal. Because for me, I dealt with a lot growing up. I had a lot of father wounds, a lot of different challenges. And me and my dad are great now. But there were so many things that happened growing up where I just felt this depression come over me, right? I felt less than. I felt like I had to perform to get his attention. I don't want my child having to perform to get my attention. But I felt these things growing up. And I don't fault my dad. I have to look back and have grace for him for how he was raised. Right? That's one of the challenges. I see men all the time, they try to point out the flaws in their parents, the people that raised them. When you don't realize they were also a person, they were also a teen, they were also a kid that had their own traumas. I had to sit down with my dad before my wedding, 2 years ago, sit down with him, have a conversation, tears coming down my eyes. I'm telling him the challenges I went through. I didn't like this, I didn't like that. We had to have that heart to heart. And it got ugly. But I had to release that. I had to protect the little boy in me so I can be the man that I am today to lead my family. To not just be somebody that can be a breadwinner. Thank you. So for me, I had to go back, address that child. Because at 18 years old, things really shifted for me in my life. I had lost my grandfather, who I was super close with him. Like, I had the type of grandfather. He he was hilarious. He'd be like this. I'm like, Papa, have you some money for some ice cream or this, that? And he would tell me no while he was like digging in his pocket to pull the money out. You know what I'm saying? He'd be like, I don't got it. And he'd be like crumbling ones out of his pocket. Like, here you go. Like, he could never say no to his grandchildren. And one day I came home and he's sitting on the couch in all of this pain. And I'm like, man, that's weird because I'm used to seeing him be the provider, protector. I'm used to seeing him working, doing something. Like, he was real handy, everything that he was doing. So to see him in this position, it kind of threw me off, right? So I went to my brother. I said, Josh, how long has Papa been sitting like this? He said, man, he's been like this all day. I said, we got to take him to the hospital. Now, if you know anything about men, dudes ain't trying to go to the hospital. Unfortunately, we're going to talk about that too, about the health aspect. We're going to get y'all right. We're going to talk about that, but they're not trying to go to the hospital. So I went to my brother. I said, look, this is what we're going to do. Now, put it in perspective. My brother played football for Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit was a powerhouse football school in South Jersey. That's where I'm from. I just started lifting weights. I played basketball my entire life. I was on a full ride scholarship, first generation, high school graduate, first generation college. I went to my brother. I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. On 3, we're going to grab him. You know what I mean? And we're going to put him in a van. So we literally like 1, 2, 3, break out, grab him, put him in the van, shot to the hospital. I drove all the way to the hospital in his Astro van. We get there. I call family comes. The doctors come out from the back and they're like, okay, we have some challenging news for Mr. Evans. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He said, Mr. Evans has what's known as intestinal gangrene. I'm like, man, what's that? He said, yes, it's like really advancing and progressing. I'm like, okay, doc, can you give me some antibiotics? Like, what's the next step? He said, you don't understand. We can't stop it or slow it down. Like, at all. Mr. Evans won't make it past the morning. You may want to say your goodbyes. And that would be the last time I would see my grandfather at that hospital. And even today, I sit around and I think about what I had from him. And the only thing I had is a gold watch. That's what was left. Was a gold watch. And a Cadillac that broke down. But mainly a gold watch. Like, what are we really leaving behind to our children, to our children's children, to the next? What are we really leaving behind? And I remember what that did to me, and it scarred me so much. And I didn't know how to process my emotions. I didn't know how to process what was going on. And then a bunch of traumas from childhood came right back up. And then I ended up bouncing around to 5 different colleges trying to outrun myself, trying to outrun my anxiety, trying to outrun my depression, trying to outrun the suicidal thoughts. And I had to stop one day, stop running and do the work to heal, because I knew one day that I would want a family. God bless me with that. So we have to do the work, y'all. We have to do the work to heal. And hopefully we touch on that more later on, but you have to do that work. And it doesn't stop. I just told y'all a couple months ago, dealing with the postnatal depression. I'm like, man, why are people talking about this? I know I can't be the only man, the only father out here going through this. So I started to reach out to my friend group, all of my men who have children. And I was like, oh, no, I kind of went through that too, but I was silent. And silence is so dangerous for us. As men, we sit here with this stoic look because, again, I got to be provider, protector. There's no time to tap into my emotions. There's no time to be anything more. So I stay in that place. And silence kills us as men. It kills us. But when we speak up, when we share what we're going through, we're now able to do what? Build community. You should leave this place with a band of brothers that you can reach out to hold you accountable, to grow from, to learn from. Because again, you will not be raising your child by yourself. And I had to learn that too. I'm like, okay, I'm his first teacher. I'm the first one he's going to learn from, but I won't be the only one that he learns from. I won't be the only man in his life that pours into him. So if that's the case, let me be intentional about the men that I'm around. Let me really set him up for success. And you all have the opportunity, because again, if you came here today, you came here with some type of intention to what? Grow. You could have been doing anything else today. It's a beautiful day outside. You could have been doing anything else, but you decided to be here. So that tells me that you want to grow as a father, you want to learn, you want to be in community. So don't waste this opportunity. Don't come here, take pictures, get the brochure, but then apply nothing that you learn. If we're going to go beyond breadwinners, we need to take the information, we need to build community, and most importantly, we need to lean on God, y'all. We need to. And as I look around this room, I get emotional, man, because like I said, I just left my son. I don't like to leave my family for nothing, I'm gonna be honest. But I felt like there was an assignment here. Because again, men are hurting. I know because I was one of those hurting men. I know because I know other hurting men in my community that need to be here, that need to know that I'm loved, I'm seen, I'm heard. Some of you, your parents never said these things to you. Your father never came and said, I love you, without conditions. Can you imagine? Without conditions? I know for me, everything was so conditional. That's why I was such a competitor with sports. Everything I did was like, oh, I got this, I did this. Did you see this? Okay, he ain't like that. Did you see this? Oh, he ain't like that. And I became a performer. And I had to start performing, and I had to start loving myself. If that's you in the room, stop performing. Be yourself, love your child. They will learn so much more from what they see you do, how they see you operate, than they will from what you tell them. And I had to learn that because, like I said, I travel and I speak. So everybody's saying like that, you're going to be speaking to your child, giving them wisdom. I'm like, I'll be honest. I'll be quiet at home. I'm real introverted when I'm not on the stage, but he's going to learn from how I operate every day. What am I doing every morning? When I wake up, is he seeing me praying? Is he seeing me reading? Is he seeing me worship? What does he see? Right? When I'm with his mother, does he see me love her? When we have conflict, does he see how we operate? Like, these are the things I'm thinking about. Money comes and goes. I'm going to teach him how to earn money. We can all do that. You can get a job, you can start a career, you can do a bit. That's the easy part. But we don't want to do the hard things because then we have to address what? The wounds that we have. But like I said in the beginning, if you do not address that inner child, and I know I'm speaking to somebody in this room because I can be pulling on me, if we don't speak to that inner child, if we don't protect that inner child, that child will show up at the most inappropriate time. And that child will be raising another child. And that's why we have so many young men losing their mind, acting insane because they're being raised by other children. Just because you're older doesn't mean you're mature, doesn't mean you're a man. And just because you have a kid and you're a dad, it doesn't mean that you're a father. There's a difference. So my hope is that everybody in this room steps up to the call, that you see yourself as more than just a provider and protector. We don't got to live by what society says. They can say whatever they want. You're so much more. You're a nurturer. You're a carer. You're somebody who loves. You're empathetic. You're insightful. You're all of these things. They try to paint us to only be Superman when we're just strong and quick and things like that. The reality is we need to be able to adapt in every single situation. Because my son, man, we just had a scenario. We were driving from Trenton, New Jersey, me, my wife, and my son. And we get about 10 minutes from my house, and we see this big accident. Like, truck flipped over, other car smashed in. So my instant alert is like, Nate, you got to help some way, somehow. Like, there's already people out helping. I pull over because the ambulance aren't there yet. So I pull over to the side of the road. I tell my wife, hey, watch the baby, make sure he's good, stay out of the way. I run over there. There's one truck flipped upside down with a lady in it upside down. There's another older woman sitting in the car, things smashed in, it's smoking, right? And we run up, me and this other guy, I'm like, hey, we got to get you out of this car. So I don't want to move. I'm like, look, man, it's smoking. Like, we have to get you out. So okay. We go over there. I grab her upper half, he grabs her lower half, and we bring her out. And when she comes out, her toes are broken, her shin is kind of split, and her wrist is like to the side. She's just in all of this agonizing pain. So we bring her over, lay her down on the grass, and I tell her, like, hey, look, if you need to squeeze the pain, because I'm in so much pain, to squeeze my hand. Right? So we wait about 15 minutes till the ambulance get there, cops get there, they ask us questions, what's going on, all of these things, right? We leave the scene, we go home. On this drive home, I felt this feeling of almost like depression, but almost worthlessness come over me. And the reason I felt that because I was like, oh snap, I can't. We were 2 minutes down the street, like that could have been us. How would I have protected my family in that situation? Right? What would I have done? There's nothing you can do in that. And for me, I had to realize, okay, God, you got to be in control. Because I can't just be this provider and protector, because when those roles are taken away from me, what else am I? And for me, I don't know about you all, but I want my legacy to mean more. When I'm long and gone and I'm done, I want my children to be able to look back and see all the different facets of their father and everything I left them that isn't just material possessions. That stuff comes and goes, it disappears, it comes back. Like none of that matters. So what are the values you have taken from me? If I was to check out now, what have you learned? What have I given you? What have I shown you? What have I displayed? Right? So think about it, y'all. Let's be comprehensive, man. When you leave this place, I want you to think bigger than what you've been already thinking. I want you to be more than what you've already been. I want you to be someone who is a 360 man, comprehensive in all his ways. You're able to be everything that you need to be in any given moment. And before I leave the stage, I really want to just take this moment to affirm you. And then if it's okay, I would love to just pray over you all. Because I think it's super, super important, right? Because I see each and every one of you. I see you. I see the hurt. I see the pain. I see the growth. I see all of it. No matter what you do, the shoulder face, I get it. We all wear masks. My challenge for you today is for you to take off that mask and to really step into what this thing is called fatherhood. And let's do this together as a community, because I need y'all. I need, as much as I'm up here on the stage and they got me on a platform, none of this matters. I'm eye level with you, and I need you, because I do want to raise my son from a boy to a king. And I can't do that on my own. So I want all of you to just bow your heads really quickly. I come to you right now, Lord God, just first and foremost, just giving you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. I thank you for these brothers that are here right now, for these fathers, for these mighty men of valor. I pray, Lord, that we would get past our father wounds, Father God. I pray that we would get past what society tells us that we are, that we would get past just being red wings, and we would become comprehensive men. That we would address whatever we need to address today, Father God, that we wouldn't leave this place the same. That we would forgive, Lord. That we would forgive those that hurt us. That we would forgive ourselves. And that we would continue to love and invest in ourselves. But more importantly, that we would lean on you. Depend on you, because we need you to raise up this next generation. Because this generation is hurting, Lord. They're hurting. Kids are dying. Kids are leading by suicide. Kids are murdering each other. Kids are leading by drugs. Or we need your presence now. We need you to provide us with the wisdom to lead and guide in our households right now, to lead and guide in our communities right now. We cannot do it alone in our own strength. We take this burden off. We take this pride off. And we give all of ourselves to you. We submit ourselves to you in all of our ways. And we ask that you would lead and guide us in the way of the everlasting. We pray that our efforts will be pleasing unto you. We thank you for the blessings that you've given us to steward over, which are our children, which are our families. And we thank you and we pray that you would help us to be better stewards every single day. So we humble ourselves, O gracious and mighty God. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thank you, fellas. Thank you. Thank you. That's my time.
Let's hear it one more time for Nathan. Two quick takeaways. Grace for yourself and for others. And Nathan noted your pop-up days coming. We continue with our program now as we hear and listen to the concept of everything starts within, embracing emotional wellness as dad with Brother Tyshawn Garrett.
Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. To begin, first and foremost, I want to thank Reverend Ron Thomas. It's always an honor being here before you guys. This is my second year coming back to the Father Coalition Conference. So I'm honored to be here. Once again, thank you all. I just wanted to, before I started, but before I started, I wanted to start with a nice little question for everybody. Shout out to Nate. That was an amazing segment. And I feel like mine is going to be a continuation of exactly what he was talking about. How many of us in here, when you think of, going for physical, how many of us go for physical at least twice a year when it comes to physical health? All right, when it comes to dental, how many of us go at least once a year for dental cleaning, routine dental scheduling? Okay. Now, what about ophthalmologists? When you think about eyeglass appointments, I don't know about y'all, but my eyesight is like bad. Okay, I'm nearsighted, I can't really see far. But how many of us go for our ophthalmologist appointments when it comes to, eye screenings, glasses, contact lenses, whatever you wear? Now, watch how this segue. How many of us go for mental health checkups? And the reason I asked that is because I wanted everybody to see the significant difference between when it comes to physical as opposed to when it comes to I think it's very important for us, as Nick also mentioned, we have to get used to creating these safe havens for us, especially as Black men. Growing up, one thing that I can recall is always being told, as a male, you have to be tough, you don't show no emotion, you always go hard, the materialistic thing is about money, being a provider, being a protector. You know what I'm saying? But as life continues and I get to a point where I'm older now, maybe I reflect and realize that it's important to be in tune with yourself mentally and emotionally. I feel like there's definitely a stigma within our community when it comes to mental health, and really creating those safe havens where we can get comfortable to tap in and get comfortable speaking about the things that really matters most, which is most important. The more that we do provide these safe havens and provide these spaces, we can do just this and have these conversations about what matters and bothering us, what are we facing on a day-to-day basis. I think that'll help us as human beings and individuals to live a more fruitful life. Before I get into the concept, mine is going to be definitely a continuation of what Reverend Ron had introduced to you guys. It's about the 8 dimensions of wellness. I will go into just breaking down each aspect more in depth so that we can have an idea of this is the way to put it, like a statue of core value that we can remember when we're going along the ways of life and when we're facing trials. I'm a firm believer that it's not about what you go through, but it's how you respond to what you go through. And the minute that we adapt that concept, and that's across the line, the minute we adapt that concept, it's going to help us no matter what we're going through, no matter what we're facing, no matter what comes our way. We always have to keep in mind that it's never about what you go through, but how you respond to what you go through. As far as fathers, and fatherhood is on the top of the father. Shout out to all the fathers that are here today. I think it's very important that we keep this in mind because it gets real generations. Let's just say that. Your concept and you as a person, you as an individual, whatever you do, whatever you show, whatever you use as an example to the child or your son or your daughter, whoever it is, it's going to show and it's going to pass down generationally. So we have to start tapping in with what really, we experienced growing up and going back to our childhood and making sense of things that we've been through. One thing that I always say is that we go from being a child, being told what to do, you get what I'm saying, having at least a structure of what to do. When you're a child, you just got to go to school, get good grades, come home, do your chores, clean your room, listen to your parents, it's okay. But when we're also younger, we have to take a step back and think about it. If we really have those conversations with set as in our parents or guardians or whoever's over us, our parenting figures. If we ever had those conversations where we talk about what you do when you get older and you lose your job, and how do you deal with that? What do you do when you get older and you're in a relationship and you're going through struggles, or your relationship is at a rocky stage? What do you do when you get older and you're facing trials and you're trying to understand things that you couldn't make sense of as a child, or even things that you witnessed that may have been trauma that you haven't focused on or paid attention to, or had that time to really tap and introspect within and see what's really bothering you? I have one saying that's pretty popular. I know I've heard it growing up. But are any of you guys familiar with what's going on in this house? What's the ending of it? Exactly. And that was something that I feel like that's the problem. The fact that we can sit and we can recall that, because what's going on in the house is the very same thing that's a detriment to us as we're getting older and as we're tapping into adulthood. We have to start really digging within and really realizing the things that impacted us. Some of us, and I can also speak to myself as a transparent moment, my life was not, an easy one. I witnessed some things growing up, even as my parents, raising me, I witnessed some things growing up. And, as I hit my adulthood, I'm starting to now realize the importance of me healing myself when we speak of healing. Giving myself grace because of what I witnessed growing up and for what I saw growing up. So it is an honor once again to be here with you all and creating this space. I think this is very important, and we need to continue to do this even when we leave from here. Have these conversations, do mental health check-ins. One thing that I do with my family, listen, at the end of the day, even if we're having dinner or anything, we're checking in. How was your day? How are you feeling? How was your week? Just creating that space and creating a normal, lifestyle in the sense of really tapping in with your emotions and your emotional wellness. So now I want to segue into the concept of the 8 dimensions of wellness. There was actually a slide on here before with Reverend Ron Thomas, but I'll just get into depth with it. So first and foremost, we have emotional. That's definitely tapping in emotionally, as I was speaking. Assessing your emotions. At the end of the day, one thing that I think is important is to keep a log of where your mind goes and what you're thinking of. I'm a firm believer that, where your energy, where your focus goes, your energy is going to flow. So if you're able to take a mental check of all the things that you're thinking about on a daily basis, you can then be able to assess where your focus is going. Are you focusing more on paying bills? Are you focusing more on what you're not accomplishing? Are you focusing more on things that are going to, deter your energy from positive to negative? But just keeping a track of your emotions and really tapping in with your emotional wellness. We have financial as well. I think it's very, very important in today's society to, have a sense of financial literacy across the line. One thing that Nate pointed out as well that I definitely resonate with is the fact that we're all about money. This is a day and age where everything is about instant gratification. It's about getting the money, being successful, and not really, stopping the process and appreciating the process of getting there as well. When it comes to financial, definitely having that financial literacy to not only make your money, but be able to control your money as well. You have social. That's developing a sense of belonging. I think it's important for us to teach the generations that come after us, the importance of watching our social surroundings and watching the people who we surround ourselves with, because you are who you hang around. And honestly, I think it's important that we, keep that concept of remembering when you are around people, you're going to become them. So it's important to surround yourself with people that are conducive and that can really help you to get to a next level. And not just that, but have a similar view of life and want something out of life, have some type of motivation. I think that's just a half for social. Spiritual, I'm not sure who everyone believes in, but when it comes to spiritual, definitely tapping in with your higher power of belief, let's just say that. Definitely tapping in, I feel like when you are able to pray, when you are able to tap in with on a spiritual level, it helps us. I think it's therapeutic. It's a form of meditation in a sense. Praying more, worrying less. Life and death is definitely in the power of the tongue. So manifest what you want. Speak positivity over your life. Always remember that no matter what you go through, you can always overcome it. occupationally. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I'm a firm believer somebody's always going to pay you to love. Pay you to do what you love to do. So with that being stated, when it comes to occupation, I think it's important for us to focus on our purpose. What is our purpose here on earth? You get what I'm saying? And passing that down generationally. Us as fathers, passing it down. What am I trying to accomplish? Or how can I benefit this earth and being here? What can I do to help the next person? Next up is physical, getting active. Teaching the importance of getting active, teaching the importance of staying active, just getting your body up and going. Like, it literally, the studies that show working out is definitely a mental charge as well. It's not just about physical. It helps you mentally as well. Intellectual is definitely creating abilities and creating segues that help you tap into yourself more. So finding those things that you enjoy doing, whether it's going for a walk, going to the gym, exercising, listening to podcasts. That's one that I do very frequently. Listening to podcasts, going hiking, things like that. But intellectually, definitely tapping in with your abilities and your gifts and things that you enjoy doing. And last up, we have environmental. This is very important. Our environments are honestly one of the main things that's going to shape us. Besides our family and growing up in the house and having children grow up in the house, when they step outside that door, this world will chew them up if they're not prepared. Let's just say that. So it's important that we have those environments and we keep in mind the importance of making sure that our environments are conducive for us as well as the generations to come after us. And that's a wrap up of the 8 dimensions of wellness. But before I end this off, I did just want to first and foremost again thank you all for this opportunity. And I would just like to leave you all with the knowledge of knowing that, once again, you are in control of everything when it comes to your life. No matter what you go through, it's never about, your struggle, but how you're going to respond to it. And just let that be a concept that you take with you, that you teach, that we teach, going down to generations and generations. Let's just continue to break the stigma of emotional wellness and mental health and create these safe havens on a regular. When we leave here, let's keep it going. It's not just about, us being up here and speaking down to you all in the audience. It's like, no, this is something that we have to keep going lifelong for generations to come and leaving a legacy. Thank you all for your time.
Once again, Tasha and Gary. I don't know about y'all, but I got a little checklist, like I said, from our keynote speaker, Grace and Pop, and from Tyshawn. I just got get that checkup from the neck up. We do those other ones, but that one is especially in these days and times. We continue now as we get more into the physical aspect of our being and elevating physical wellness for fathers. We're going to have a panel discussion, and your questions are encouraged at this point as we welcome to the stage Dr. Valerie Epps and Dr. Bonnie Jenna Life to talk about the physical aspects of our being. It's a pleasure to meet y'all, and I encourage you to, if you can, share this microphone. Okay, I'm a ladies first now.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Valerie Epps. I'm a physical therapist, and we're just here to take your questions about your physical health and wellness. So we welcome anything you have to share.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Bonnie Jenna Life. Actually, in mental health administrative training times for over 2 years. So I'm actually going to focus on the practical aspect of the mental health that I've heard everyone talk about some of the things that are necessary for individuals to focus on self-wellness, the self-awareness of what you need to do practically to begin the
Thank you.
Do we have any questions to start us off? We can give a little overview to warm you guys up, but if you guys have any burning questions, talk about physical health and mental health. Somebody's got a question out there. So make us call somebody. All right. Well, I'll start us off with a little discussion. I'm not a father, but I have a father. He is 77 years strong, and he is my first physical health role model. I've learned from him about taking care of yourself. Now, I saw the earlier discussion talk about being a provider and protector, but my father's also an educator. I learned about being physically active and physically functioning from him. People say, oh, how do you keep yourself in good condition? It's your example. As fathers, you guys impact your kids the first off. Like, yes, you have a mother, and mother's a lot more nurturing, but your physically active children, you have a physically active father. When we see kids right now in our clinics that come in, if their fathers are not very active with them, it tells them the children. You can tell whose little child has more joint ailments, whose little child is more overweight. It's usually those who are not very engaged with their whole parental unit. It's not to say they're coming from single parent households, they're coming from double parent households. But if you're not taking your physical health seriously, the child doesn't put priority on it either. Sometimes when people come in, I'm usually working just with the mom, but when the father comes in, you can see a bigger difference because it means the whole circle is working together. When you guys take care of going to the hospital, for the doctor, for yourself, if you see ailments creeping up, everybody, who here goes for physical once a year? Okay, everybody's saying it should be up. Everybody's saying it should be up. If you're all taking care of yourself, that's the basic, the baseline. To go once a year for that. You also need to check it. If something's bothering you, don't let it sit on the back burner. If you have something that's creeping up and you say, oh my God, this is hurting me, but you don't feel like that, I gotta work. There's always an extra hour somewhere. If you have something that's going on with you mentally, Bonnie will tell you how there's other ways you can address it.
So thank you. I think there was something that was mentioned here that resonates with me. If you were saying that life is about 10% what happens to you and 90% what you do about it. So mental health, healing, physical, medical, whatever, pharmacological, non-pharmacological, starts with an accurate assessment. So if you do not assess yourself, that recognize that you need help when something is not quite all right, then it is very, very difficult to even seek the answers that can help you here. So mental health assessment should contain 4 components. You must make sure that whoever you're talking to, you're looking at, there are some aspects of more neurodevelopmental conditions that might be making you feel the way you feel. There are things within behavioral conditions that might, or things that you do that essentially habits that you have formed that have made you to the state that you're in. There are also environmental stressors that are happening within and around you that are leading to the way you feel, to your mental health. So, leading to what Dr. Valerie is saying, to prepare you to get to that physical, to prepare you to actually take this step, you have to get an accurate assessment. And know, and that assessment starts with you, recognizing that yes, I need help. You know, like one thing that fathers do, this is also very, very, very true for older fathers, black fathers. As they get older, they tend to say, let it go. They tend to say, this let it go. It's not true that you should let it go. And also recognize that anything that happens to you do not just happen to you alone. It happens to not just you, everyone around you, everything that you intend to do in the future is affected by how you assess your family. So I will probably go into an example bring as we move along. So I was trying not to rush the runway. I would have an example of just a typical, case study or case conference of an individual how mental health affects them.
Yes.
Break down the myth that African Americans are about.
I'd say you have to work with encouragement, open, honest conversation. Because sometimes I think we hide behind, oh, it's my personal business. Nobody needs to know my information. If you have a friend, if you have a father, brother, child, if everybody communicates. Everybody communicates. Blood pressure. Everybody here know what our usual blood pressure is? We should all know. Next time you go to the doctor, even if you go to the CVS, the Walgreens, stick your arm in the little machine. Find out what your blood pressure is. See what it should be. Anyone know like what a standard blood pressure should be? Somebody
120 over 60.
120 over 60. The guidance now is about 110 over 70 is what they think people should be. And a lot of people are on medication and they're taking medication thinking they're fine, but you might not be fine. You kind of need to check in and see where you are. You also need to know what your A1C is. If you're going for that physical, ask your doctor. Say, doc, if you're saying my diabetes is, if I don't have diabetes, I'm good, what's my A1C? And A1C is something that reflects how you've been doing with your blood sugar over the past 3 months. So it's an in-depth blood test. They'll look back and they say, hey, you're a little bit borderline, you're a little bit that, you need to make some corrections in your lifestyle. Maybe you need to exercise more. You need to change how you're eating. Because sometimes you can head off not having to take a pill. No one wants to take medication. Who here wants to take pills and stuff every day? One person. But maybe you can kind of bring back some of that by watching what you eat, moving more. That's the biggest thing. I'm a physical therapist. A lot of people do not move. Now we're in the area of Zoom and people working from home. There's people who gain less than 1,000 steps in a day. That's not a healthy lifestyle for an active, moving body of people. So if you can just move a little bit more, you don't have to go outside. This is a beautiful campus. You can walk around, but you can walk in your home, in place. While you're watching the Heat try to win the series, you could be walking. You could be moving, right?
Dr.
I said
Epps.
the Heat. Yes.
Dr. Epps,
Yes.
Question. We've talked about a lot of things, and you just touched on it a minute ago with diet.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about not necessarily what we should and shouldn't be eating, but some of the things we should be watching for in terms of what we do consume every day.
I'd say what you consume on a regular basis speaks about you. Not to say you can't have a meal once in a while and enjoy macaroni and cheese, enjoy some good fried chicken, enjoy a nice steak. But if that's your constant diet, that I want to eat, quote unquote, high off the hog every day, it's not going to be the best for your lifestyle. It's an old school saying, but eating high off the hog. But if you eat that type of way every day, it's not going to be the best. If you have it once in a while, but you got to get yourself to a place where what you put into your body and what you do for your body reflects what you want it to be. Do you want your body to be full of grease all day? Do you want to be full of fresher things, fresher fruits, vegetables, and water? It's going to reflect out. What you put in is what you get back out. Like what you exercise, what you put into your body is what you're going to see the results in.
Yeah, one of the questions I was just thinking about, as you go to the doctor, they always have the questionnaire of your family history. So, your mother's diabetic, your father deals with high blood pressure. And the psyche, it kind of starts to work on us to believe that it's generational, right? So now I actually accept, because my mother had diabetes, I'm gonna have it, right? So now I don't think about trying to break the chain of bad healthy eating, because that's what they did. It's embedded in me. So I really don't try to break anything, because if my mother got it, I got it. My father got it, I have it. So I'm just trying to see what's the impact and what does that do to us when you're asking our family history. You know what I mean? And it really doesn't say, hey, you don't have to have diabetes. You just have to do some things different. But the doctors never say that. They kind of just take the history. Well, not you. I'm sorry.
Well, you might need to change your healthcare provider. As people, look, I'm speaking in the room of mostly people of color. Sometimes you're not at the right provider's office. Like if you're at a provider's office and you feel you're not being addressed in a certain manner, I don't care what insurance you have, I don't care if you're paying out of pocket, going to charity, you need to try to see what your provider's doing. If they're not addressing you and telling you ways you can better yourself, like looking at your family history and saying, listen, you don't have to be fatalistic about it, then you might need to change the provider you're seeing. There's tons of providers out there who are really good. Some might be in every neighborhood you see. They'll be really caring about your situation. But if you're noticing that you're not getting that feedback saying, listen, you don't have to be that way, that doesn't have to be you, you might need to at least think about a different provider. It might be the same group. This might be somebody else who's going to cater to your needs a little bit better.
And this for, Doctor, can you speak on emotional intelligence a little bit and how not having it can deter or allow us not to form good relationships with our children?
Thank you very much. I think that just goes back to what I was talking about earlier, having self-awareness, even tied into what she was saying. Mental health should actually be a routine thing. The same way you schedule your physical, you should have a routine appointment. You don't have to get bad before you recognize that there's a mental health. It should be a need for you to be, everyone should have a wellness recovery action plan for themselves that includes mental health. It will address your emotions, because if you say to yourself, on June 10th is my day, my mental health day, and you make that appointment and you go routinely, nothing has to be wrong with you. It's just validate that everything you're doing is correct. So when you validate yourself more, positively, it will affect how you operate with your children, how you operate with everyone. It's just more or less refocusing what do we prioritize and how we address things. Because I am a firm believer that if your mindset is not right, nothing else works. No matter what anybody's putting on your plate, you are not going to be motivated to do it. Like, right, what you just said, you go to an office, they have a litmus list of how what you're going through is linked to someone that lived before you. In your mindset, you're already programming yourself to accept that this is your fate, when in actuality, you have every tool to change that for yourself. You can add 20, 30 years ahead of your life than what your father or your mother had by making choices towards what she's talking about. But first, the mindset, which is the mental health, has to accept the reality that what you're being told does not mean a detrimental outcome for you. Rather, it's a wake-up call for you to re-strategize how you're doing. If you're consuming anything, then you want to know the quantity of what you're consuming. You want to know if there's any need to reduce it. So that's like, I think there are multiple systems that can help you. Because if you just have one doctor doing everything for you, like she rightfully said, that will not probably be the best outcome, because there are different systems that can answer different questions for you. And then once you tie it together, it will make sense emotionally and then in reality, practically for you.
También pues ayudarlos en sus procesos según lo que sea necesario. Me he capacitado como migrante igualmente. Pasé por estas mismas experiencias y pues debido a experiencias no tan buenas, me dediqué a estudiar, a capacitarme en el área legal y aún lo sigo haciendo, recibiendo clases en distintos institutos y universidad, pues para poder brindar una ayuda de la mano, pero bien sustentada y bien basada en lo que realmente es la ley dentro de este país, en lo que podemos hacer y no podemos hacer. Nosotros trabajamos desde visas de trabajo, asilos políticos, que ahorita es lo más delicado que se está trabajando, que está llegando al país, y lo más, lo que está en la palestra, ¿okay? Lo que está en el top 10, los asilos políticos. ¿Quién puede recibir un asilo político? ¿Cómo puede ser ese asilo político? Si es uno defensivo o si es un asilo pues, regular, pues nosotros podemos ayudar a esta comunidad. Visas familiares, peticiones, ¿quién puedo pedir a mi mamá? ¿Puedo pedir a mi papá? ¿Cuál es el estatus legal que necesitas tener para poder ayudar a tus familiares? Y todo ese tipo de información es la que nosotros brindamos a diario desde nuestra oficina y también en todos los eventos que hemos venido realizando y organizado por Carlos en distintas comunidades aquí en el estado de New Jersey. De verdad es agradable para nosotros siempre ver esa comunidad que está presente, que nos acompaña y que tiene tantas dudas. Y que nosotros, por lo menos, yo me he sentido satisfecha y por eso estoy acá también con este llamado pues, de tantas personas que hemos podido ayudar. Y que es nuestra labor o pues nuestra mayor satisfacción y de seguir adelante y escuchar a profesionales como el profesor acá que acaba de hablar sobre las becas, y retomo el tema nuevamente, como lo hizo Carlos, porque es importante que ese desconocimiento se vaya disipando, que ese desconocimiento de nuestra comunidad sepa que también los inmigrantes pueden lograr tener una beca, que también los inmigrantes tienen la oportunidad de entrar a un college o entrar a una universidad y que la información es nuestra herramienta. Hay que buscar información, bien sea médica, que también el inmigrante puede solicitar una ayuda para poder atacar la parte de salud, si es necesario. En este caso, puedo hablar de mi madre que es paciente con marcapaso y está súper preocupada aquí en el país porque no sabe qué médico cardiólogo no puede ver o dónde se le presenta algo, alguna situación, y nosotros estamos buscando la manera de ayudar. Y mira, hoy estamos acá recibiendo una información bastante importante. Entonces,
lack of exercise, so forth and so on. But in terms of mental illness, schizophrenia, dementia, depression, what would you say are some of the precursors to look for that maybe would lead to those type of mental illnesses and so forth? Well, I would say, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that our neurodevelopmental issues that people deal with, that is out of your control. But once those show up, with accurate assessment, it can be addressed early. There are environmental stressors that lead to some of these things, and then there are medical, which is part of what I was just talking about. There are medical conditions that have comorbid effects that actually affect people. But what is important is once those assessments are done accurately, and then the professionals know exactly where the origin of your mental health condition, then they begin to address it from that perspective. But if it is a blanket, so I just have a mental health problem, and it wasn't zeroed into actually what was the root cause of because it's unique, it's not the same. The root cause of it is a mental health problem, but the root cause of it is unique on each person. So that's why proper individualized assessment, accurate assessment for that matter, is very, very relevant for everyone.
I'd also say to be observant of your actual friends and family, because there are a lot of people who just won't share. But you'll know, like, say my niece, my nephew, they're having some type of issue. You could tell, but be open with them and try to seek them towards guidance.
So let me introduce a case of, I call this guy Brando, because I don't want to use a name that probably someone here has the name. So I don't want to see like we're talking about the person. So Brando has bipolar disorder. And Brando is diagnosed with bipolar disorder without any type of psychotic features. His bipolar disorder is characterized by moods that swings among 3 phases: depression, hypomania, and mania. So when he is depressed, he may not get out of bed for several days at a time and is intensively, to his own hygiene. He doesn't groom he doesn't want to shave, he doesn't want to do anything. When he's hypomanic, he is irritable and, he's reactive and gets into arguments with everybody. And then when he's manic, he may not sleep at all. For more than he may get just more than half hour sleep a day or for several days at a time. So he's also more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors, including unprotected sex, drugs, and or even petty theft. So when you see that and you look at the case of Brandon, just think through yourself and think, what do you think someone like him can do for self-assessment? How does he recognize his own mental health? You see the 3 stages. How does he know which stage he's in? It only depends on those things that are manifesting as behavior. So when people see it, so when someone is assessing, they'll ask, what is he doing now? They say, oh, he's jumping all over the place. He thinks he's Michael Jackson. He believes Michael Jackson is his father. So the professional will know exactly, and there's nothing you can do about that. He believes it, and if you dare tell him it's not true, he will fight with you. So when he's in the depressive stage, he's isolating. He doesn't want to deal with you. You're a family member, he doesn't want to see you. You're best friend, but he doesn't want to see you at that moment. So the treatment pattern and plan changes for each of those episodes. So you cannot use one brush to paint all 3. So that is why when you see someone going through something, you want to be able to assess what they are doing at that moment. That speaks to what you're saying. What is going on within that particular setting? What are they doing? What are those antecedents? What can you do to be able to help? Because what he will do tomorrow or next week will be different. You cannot use the same method next week because he's now hypomanic next week. So you have to address him where he's at.
For intermittent fasting, that is something you have to get really close with your body, to be in tune with your own body and with your own physical health. But before you start that type of pathway, get a good physical with your primary care physician, because in intermittent fasting, people are doing, what that is like people eating windows. Like let's say they eating 8-hour windows, like for a day. Like say they might start at 10 and then go for 8 hours, and that's it. That's all the food they consume for their whole day. Some people can live like that, and I know it's a weight management tool for a lot of people. Like they say they feel cleaner, they feel healthier eating that way. But you also have to not, if you're diabetic especially, to not try to eat that way continuously. There's a lot of people who cannot live that way in a tight window. Some people live on a 12-hour intermittent fasting window, which is quite natural to a lot of our bodies. Like we wake up at like maybe 7 and then we stop eating at 7 again. But when people start making those windows tighter, like 8 hours and 7 hours and 6, it's when it becomes a little bit dangerous. Yes. Depends on the person. If you have poor control, if your pancreas is not working correctly, you're going to have a natural spike with any food you eat. Any food you take in, when you eat your lunch, if you take your blood sugar, if you wake up in the morning, say your blood sugar's at like 90, because I'm saying you're at 90, you're non-diabetic before you eat, and then you eat, it raises up. You should have some type of spike whenever you eat food. You don't want to have wild spikes where you go up and down, up and down. You want to kind of have yourself stay level. But anytime you consume something, you should see a reaction because you're putting food in your system. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't the body have already kind of energy already what you need after processing?
Yeah, but if, like, say you stopped eating last night, like 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and you wake up again at 7, 6, you fasted through the night. Your body's fasted itself. It's time to replenish. If you don't have fuel, you're not going to have good. Your brain's kind of slowing down. Like just like your car needs gas, so does your brain. And your fuel, you need, like people give, oh, I can't have carbs. The carbs is a nasty word. Carbs is what helps keep you going, like functioning well with your brain. Not to say you could have like a sugary donut every day, but you can have some oatmeal. You could have some whole grain oats to mix in for things like that. But when you wake up, yes, you have energy, but you're still fat. You're still in a fasting state. If you're going to do any physical activity, if you're going to be active, and you want to think, especially for children, because a lot of kids, we take it back to kids, because we're in a father's group. A lot of them going to school without food. Like, if you should know what your children eat before they leave the house. If they're going to school without food, they're going to not function at their highest level. When you're hungry or you're starving down yourself, you're not functioning at your peak level.
We have time for one more question.
Great. And you sit all day.
I've been retired now for 9 years. I went from a 2X to an extra large.
Oh, great.
I want to go to a large. And that's my goal. I ride a bicycle in my spare time. All over the place.
Eso es lo valioso de esta reunión de hoy día, es lo valioso, es lo que rescato para la comunidad que nos esté escuchando, las personas que pudieron asistir hoy día. Tema migratorio, estamos capacitando y ayudando a mucha comunidad. Ya como les dije, hacemos todo tipo de asistencia para nuestra comunidad en español. En inglés tratamos, pues es poca, pero tratamos de también ayudar. Porque nuestra comunidad latina es la que normalmente necesita nuestro apoyo migratorio y orientación. Así que les invito a pues seguirnos, a escuchar esta información que hoy le estamos brindando todos nosotros y pues a comunicarse, a escribir, preguntar vía Facebook en vivo donde estamos ahorita, y los que están acá si tienen alguna duda, Multistreaming está a la orden, ¿ok? Para poder responder y podernos ayudar. Así que muchas gracias y gracias a todos acá por nutrirme hoy día también de mucha información. ¿Ok? Pues muy buenos días.
Muchísimas gracias a todos. Yo siempre digo en todo lo que hacemos por la comunidad que una comunidad educada es una comunidad empoderada, porque la comunidad latina va a ser la mayoría, minoría, y siempre tiene que estar preparada y educada para lo que viene, porque ellos son el futuro. Así que muchísimas gracias. ¿Alguien tiene una última palabra para la comunidad, por favor? Concejal.
Muchas gracias. Yo estoy contento de haber participado y estos temas son tan significativos. Todos los temas son extremadamente importantes. Voy a escoger uno para resaltar y es el tema de las finanzas. Es uno de los temas que nuestra comunidad verdaderamente necesita ayuda. Yo pienso en mi pasado, en mis padres, cuando llegamos de Cuba. No sabíamos mucho de finanzas. Inclusive yo cuando me gradué de maestro, no sabía mucho de finanzas. Me tomó años. Y hoy en día yo de vez en cuando pienso, si yo hubiera sabido hace 30 años lo que sé hoy en día, mis finanzas, que están buenas hoy en día, no puedo quejarme, pero hubieran estado mucho mejor. Por ejemplo, cómo invertir. Es algo que nosotros no creemos que lo podemos hacer, pero como dijo el caballero, el crédito es tan importante. Y con buen crédito uno puede hacer tantas cosas por uno y por la familia. Así que ese es un tema que debemos seguir resaltando en nuestra comunidad. Definitivamente los demás temas son extremadamente importantes. Mi amigo el psicólogo que habló de un tema que para mí personalmente es es sumamente importante. Yo creo que debemos no solamente educar mejor a nuestra comunidad, sino buscar vehículos para que la comunidad latina reciba más apoyo en el campo psicológico y la educación mental, que es tan vital en el país entero, pero por experiencias personales puedo decir que en las familias latinas. Muchas gracias otra vez por la invitación.
Doctor, una última palabra.
Muchísimas gracias. Realmente estoy muy contento también por la participación de todos los que estamos acá. Cuando vemos lo que tiene que ver con el bienestar, tenemos que entender que son no solamente una parte, sino que son varias partes que son necesarias para poder poner atención a ellas. Y que realmente, si una de esas partes está descuidada, puede crear gran conflicto en la vida de esa persona. Y por ende, la parte que yo promuevo con más intensidad es la parte emocional, porque cuando las finanzas están mal, emocionalmente se afecta bastante, pero también físicamente, pero también la familia y la dinámica. Se sabe ya que lo que tiene que ver con los matrimonios, el problema número uno tiene que ver con las finanzas. Lo que lleva más al divorcio tiene que ver con problemas sobre las finanzas, que realmente no es, si lo vemos en un punto más claro, no es realmente la finanza, sino el impacto que tiene en las emociones y en las relaciones y no tener las finanzas en un sitio. Y obviamente sin una salud física no podemos tampoco sobrellevar la carga de todos los otros aspectos de nuestra vida. Y por ende, y algo que por mi propia experiencia como inmigrante en este país, de mi padre, aún el estado legal tiene un impacto en nos sentimos emocionalmente y físicamente seguros. Entonces, toda esta parte se une y realmente, y algo de lo que estoy muy orgulloso en este momento, creo que lo primordial que queremos hacer, y lo digo porque estoy trabajando en un proyecto que estamos haciendo esto similar en Newark, y la idea es eventualmente promoverlo en las ciudades de Elizabeth y Paris en los próximos 3 años, pues son comunidades con alto contenido de familia latina. Realmente creemos que si lidiamos o sanamos las necesidades individuales emocionales, también entonces sanamos la necesidad de las parejas y las necesidades de las familias, y por ende sanamos la necesidad de la comunidad. Y nosotros tenemos como comunidad tan grande potencial, ni siquiera nos damos cuenta de tan grande potencial que tenemos, si solamente pudiéramos poner énfasis en nuestro bienestar y principalmente en nuestra salud emocional. Así que espero que esto se haya traducido en algo accionable para las personas que lo escucharon y que cada uno de nosotros podamos salir de aquí inspirados a tomar acción.
Enfermeradores, una última palabra, por favor.
Bueno, algo que quiero enfatizar que está relacionado con la salud y con la inmigración es que quiero que sepan todos los que están presentes y los que están viendo en vivo que en el estado de New Jersey no importa qué estatus migratorio usted tenga. Si usted se siente enfermo, si usted está mal, usted va al hospital. Ningún hospital le puede rechazar a usted por no tener documentos en ese momento. Es ilegal hacer eso. En todos los hospitales lo deben aceptar y le deben dar tratamiento si usted se siente enfermo. Y otra cosa que pasa entre las comunidades latinas, especialmente los hombres, es que tienden a no expresar lo que está pasando y lo dejan que no, es otra cosa, es otra cosa. Y en una de las clases que tuve recientemente, uno de los tutores nos preguntó, ¿ustedes saben cuál es el síntoma número 1 de un ataque al corazón? Y todo el mundo decía, el dolor de pecho. No, la negación. Cuando usted dice, tiene un dolor, no fue porque le comí tal cosa, y mal. No, no se niegue. Si tiene síntomas de que algo extraño está pasando, llame al 911, vaya al hospital, que allá lo tienen que atender. Porque cuando se trata del corazón y del cerebro, es un reloj, tic-toc, tic-toc, tic-toc. Mientras más tiempo usted espera, el resultado es peor. Exacto. Entonces, tengan en cuenta eso y muchas gracias.
Alberta, una última palabra para los que nos están mirando. ¿Tienen una pregunta?
Ok, so le hicieron un electrocardiograma, el electrocardiograma salió normal. No le hicieron el examen de sangre, sacan la sangre también ellos. Hay unos marcadores que nos dicen si puede ser que está empezando a tener un problema cardíaco. Salió negativo, gracias a Dios. Pero bueno, fue muy bueno lo que usted hizo.
IQ about economic principles is at a high level. This is show of hands. Right? So it's limited, right? So what do we do, or what can we do to increase that knowledge, right? What some of the principles that I'm going to share with you, you can find it in books, and you could also find it through periodicals, websites, Yahoo Finance, so forth and so on. But what if we not focus on that? And what if we just putting our money in the bank? So we're putting our money in the bank. How much interest are we earning on our money? 0, less than 1%, right? But if we're investing our money, we have the opportunity to earn a higher interest. Now, on the other hand, what would you say are we doing in a lot of instances when we want something and we don't have the money to get it? Credit, right? Now, what's the interest rate on most credits? 25 and up. Try getting a credit card now. It's not going to be 18 anymore. It's going to be 25 and up. Now, if we just look at inflation, right? Inflation is now, it used to be about 3-4%. It's now probably about 5-6%, but it had gone up to what? 9-10%? 9-10%. So if we're not outpacing inflation through our investments, then our money is not outpacing inflation. Therefore, we don't put ourselves in a position where we're growing our financial resources. So it's very important to understand where to put our money in order to outpace inflation. Inflation is very, very much an important aspect of the economy. Wouldn't you agree? So if we are focused on outpacing inflation, having an advisor that can give you the ability to invest your money, give you the ability to maximize your investments, you're going to be in a lot better position. Wouldn't you agree? So as we think about another principle to understand, and that's taxes, right? So the government runs the country on the tax-paying dollars of the American people, correct? The tax-paying dollars of the American people is what the government runs the country with. So when we think about how we can grow our money, we also have to think about what taxes do we pay, or how our rate of return affects the taxes as well as our time value of money. So time value of money is very important, very important concept, time value of money. And it also correlates to compound interest, right? So compound interest relates to the time value of money. So what do I mean by that? If we're earning 8% on our money and we are looking at growing our money to reach $1 million on a tax deferred basis, if we have 40 years to do that, earn $1 million or grow our money to $1 million, if we put $280 a month away for 40 years at 8%, we'll get to that $1 million. But let's say we don't have 40 years to do it, and we only have 35 years to do it. Then we have to increase the amount of money we put per month away to get to that $1 million. So I know the math. So the math is you have to put over $400 a month away to get to the $1 million with compound interest. So, but guess what? If we don't understand that principle, compound interest, or the time value of money, and we're just keeping our money in the bank, then we're not going to outpace inflation. Another principle to understand is rule of 72. Is anyone familiar with the rule of 72? Show of hands. Okay, the rule of 72 basically says that if we are understanding the interest rate that we're earning on money, and we divide it by 72, that will determine how many years it's going to take our money to double. So if we're putting our money in the bank, earning less than 1%, based on that rule, if we had $10,000 starting out, it's going to take us actually 72 years for that $10,000 to turn to $20,000, right? Based on the rule of 72. So it behooves us to understand, again, going back to interest rate that we're earning on our money, that we're, in this example, earning, let's say, 8% on our money based on that rule, it would then take us 9 years for that money to double. 9 years for that money to double based on the rule of 72. So again, as we think about these different rules and we think about economic principles, let's focus on having appreciable assets versus depreciating assets. So what would you say is the number one depreciating asset that most people invest in? A car, right? Now, what would you say is the best appreciable asset to invest in? Real estate. Exactly. And if you have multiple real estate, your primary, as well as, let's say, a real estate investment, then you now have the ability where your investment can then make money, have your mortgage paid for, and you live in free of charge, all right? But what's going to get you there? What's going to get you there is one of the things that is so important, and that's credit, right? If we don't have credit, or we don't have a good credit score, can we get that car? Or what interest rate are we going to get in that car? A much higher interest rate versus someone with good credit. Similarly, if we're looking for a mortgage, if we don't have good credit, we're going to pay a higher interest rate on that mortgage loan, correct? So it behooves us to understand the importance of having good credit. It behooves us to understand the importance of shopping around for the best interest rate. And then it behooves us to understand that we need to focus on appreciable assets versus depreciating assets. And it's all tied to goals, all right? So if we are living in a society that is a capitalist society, and we don't have a goal to, let's say, go get a financial advisor, or we don't have a goal to say, well, how could I better understand how taxes are affecting my income, or how taxes are going to affect how I'm going to be able to, invest in the money to send my kids to college. Then we're at a disadvantage, right? So can we say that we're at a disadvantage and it's only the fault of our own? I would say no. And why is that? Because there have been institutional policies that have been put against us to keep us unaware of the right types of investments to put our money in. There have been institutional policies to keep us away from, going to get those business loans, or going to get that ability to really maximize our financial resources. So for me, I saw the importance of shifting from being an employee to becoming an entrepreneur. So I've been an employee for a number of years. I had a long-term career in corporate America, 30 years in corporate America, and then I transitioned to becoming an entrepreneur, a financial advisor. Some of you may have received one of my books. There's two of my books that are here, Faith Plus Purpose Equal Legacy, and the 7 Mindsets to Successfully Transition from Employee to Entrepreneur. Now, the first book that I wrote, Faith Plus Purpose Equal Legacy, was indicated to give our children a better understanding of an option as terms of entrepreneurship as being a good option to consider versus just being an employee. And it showed the connection between fatherhood, our parents, us as parents, really encouraging our children. We're going to increase fathers' multiple streams of income, increase our children's leadership skills, and also be able to keep more fathers in the household. Okay? Now, as we look at, again, taxes, and I just try to relate my story to I guess, principles in terms of the economy. If we're just an employee, we actually pay more taxes to the government just by being an employee. You're aware of that, correct? All right, W-2 employees pay more taxes. But being a business owner, you have the ability to have tax benefits. You'll be able to have more unlimited income versus just having a salary. And you also be in a position to pass down a legacy to the next generation. So in the Bible, you know what it says. A good man is one that leaves an inheritance for their children, but also for their children's children. So again, the books that I've written, as my lifestyle has been to transition from employee to entrepreneur, I encourage you as fathers to do similar things in terms of just understanding the benefits of entrepreneurship, understanding the benefits of seeking out financial advice through a financial advisor, but more importantly, putting a plan of action together as a result of having a monitored approach to your financial life versus just being sporadic about it, Also, with just share capitalist society, but if we're not thinking for the future and we're just thinking for today, that's where we get into a lot of trouble. Versus not thinking about, all right, but if we forget or we're not aware of the time value of money, remember the example that I used earlier, all right? The time value of money says that if we are having our interests earned and we're having our ability to gain wealth, it's going to take time to do it. But if we're spending all our money frivolously or we're increasing our credit card debt, it's not giving us the ability to then pay ourselves first. So paying ourselves first is a critical component to having us live the lifestyle that we want to live. And why is that? When you think about paying your bills, what do most people think about when they get their paycheck? Paying your bills, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. However, in most instances, if we're not paying ourselves first, when it's time to pay our bills, do we have more money? Probably not. Probably not. So it's important to understand as well the importance of having a clear understanding of your discretionary income. All right. So what does discretionary income represent? Discretionary income represents your net income, meaning after you pay your taxes, and then what you have left. And then after you've paid all your expenses, you're going to either have a negative balance or a positive balance. If you have a positive balance, then you have a positive discretionary income. And that positive discretionary income then allows you to invest your money, pay yourself first, as well as give yourself an ability to look at putting money towards your retirement. All right. Those financial literacy concepts that I kind of shared, if you pay attention to them and you pay attention to really, implementing them, you're going to see that you're going to have a good way of growing your financial resources. Now, as that slide was just basically going to say, the difference between looking at doing it yourself or seeking out financial advice to do it for you or to pay someone to guide you. So myself as being a financial advisor, I'm able to help people look at their goals, understand your long-term view, and then tie your goals to investment plans of action that can give you the ability to put money away to send your kids to college, put money away to open up a business, put money away to invest in real estate, or put money away to just have a vacation, you and your family. So all financial plans are tied to goals. And if they're tied to goals, if you are able to monitor those goals, then you're going to have peace of mind. I like to say I'm in the business of having or providing peace of mind to individuals.